Over the course of this training camp, the offense has often gotten the better of the defense. However, though, in today's practice, it was quite the exact opposite, as the defense dominated against an offense that was quite sloppy. We're going to talk about it in this episode, folks, so stay tuned.
What are we? What makes us what we are and what we're going to be? It's grit. It's what we started with last year, guys. Doesn't matter if you have one ass cheek and 3 toes. I will beat your ass.
Can definitely compete with the big dogs.
10, 5, end zone, touchdown, Detroit Lion.
You guys are unbelievable, man. I'm telling you.
We are driven by Detroit.
Hello, Detroit Lions fans, and welcome on back to yet another episode of MCM Motor City Mania. I'm your host, David T. Pike, and as always, we're diving on in. So, another day, another video of training camp observations. So, what do we have? These observations are coming directly from Tim Twentyman, and like I've done in the past, I'm going to look at those observations, I'm going to give my opinions on them, I'm going to let you guys know what my thoughts are, and that's what the basis of this video is going to be. So, Tim Twentyman in his observations noted about how the offense, or rather I should say to kind of be a little bit more, broad, seeing as how he didn't specify the offense. I'm assuming it's the offense because of all the other observations, that there were a lot of penalties throughout the entirety of practice today, which is extremely uncharacteristic for the Detroit Lions because ever since Dan Campbell has gotten to Detroit, the Lions have had a pretty good ability to make sure they don't have dirty laundry out on the field. I mean, if you go to last year, I think the Lions had the 6th best defense in terms of not getting, penalties, and I think they were in the teens when it came to the freaking offense. But the point of the matter is that it's uncharacteristic because the Lions, even at this point that we are, with the team and its progression, and now that it's fighting for a Super Bowl, now that it's gunning for a Super Bowl, it's like, listen, you can't have days like this where it's like, hey, you just mentally are not there, where you're having those mental lapses. I get it, we're all human, but it's like, listen, I've said it before, I'll say it again. For those that are trying to make a Super Bowl, you have to have damn near everything go right. Now, I will say this. I would much rather have these errors, these penalties happening in practice rather than happening out on the game field. Because it's like, listen, practice is where you're allowed to make mistakes. But it's like, even in practice, if you're a Super Bowl contender, if you're trying to make a Super Bowl, you want to minimize those mistakes as much as possible. And when I'm hearing from Tim Twentyman, it's like, okay, it sounds like today people just were not all quite there mentally. They had somewhat got something else on their mind, something else was affecting them, maybe the heat, maybe the humidity, maybe they were tired, I don't know. But the point of the matter is, it's like, listen, you can't do that. And obviously Dan Campbell realizes that because he decided to pull the team off of, doing their drills and whatever else to have a very old school, very vocal, stern reminder that, hey, they need to get their heads on right. They need to do the right things. They need to make sure that they're focused and they're paying attention and they're doing their job. Again, this goes back to, if you guys remember in Hard Knocks, you guys ought to remember the opening to one of the episodes is where Dan Campbell is in the meeting room and he brings out those black, gym pants or whatever. And he literally swats at them and all this white powder and dirt and whatever comes off them. And he's like, listen, if we want to get to where we're going, we have to get rid of all this other crap. We got to get rid of all this other stuff that's holding us back. Okay, the Lions have done a very good job in regards to everything else. But what I'm trying to say in relation to this is like, listen, you still have to maintain that focus. You still have to make sure that you are staying resolute in your determination to make sure, hey, we're not going to let anything affect us, whether it's in practice, whether it's in games. So that's something that I'm talking about here with this whole thing. And the new I would say the new right guard or left guard in this case, whichever it is, we haven't quite figured out just yet, but Kevin Zeitler, he said it the best after practice. He said, average might have been good a couple of years ago, but that's not what we're about. We have bigger goals. So again, everybody understands the mission. Everybody understands what they're gunning for. They're going for a Super Bowl. And even the players understand that, hey, what happened out on the field today was not acceptable. It's not to our standards. We need to do better. So, yeah, not exactly the finest showing from the team, but again, it's good that they realize and recognize that what they did was not up to their standards, and I hope that tomorrow practice is going to be much crisper. Now, another observation that was noted from Tim Twentyman is a guy that I haven't really talked a whole lot about because I've been trying to see if he was going to continue it going into training camp, and so far he has, but that's wide receiver Darius Fountain, pardon me. He is continuing to separate himself from the competition in practice, and again, this is what you want to do in training camp. If you're trying to make a roster, if you're trying to make an impression, doing so in training camp is absolutely the place to do it because it is a literal competitive breeding ground. It's like, hey, you got guys that are all trying to make the roster. If you want to show that you deserve to belong, you deserve to get playing time, that is the chance to do it. And Fountain is doing exactly that. Apparently in 1v1 drills today, he made an outstanding catch with Terry and Arnold all over him in coverage. And again, I have been reading and hearing a lot of reports about this out of Fountain throughout the entirety of not only training camp, but even going back to minicamp and OTAs. And it's like, okay, this guy's clearly got something. This guy is clearly dedicated to making the team. He's clearly dedicated to wanting to make an impression. And he's definitely making an impression. He continues to physically show that he deserves a shot. So for me, it's like, okay, this is a guy that I need to start paying a little bit more attention to. Outside of Fountain, the other guy that got a bit of a, I wouldn't say a lot, but he got a bit of a notice again was Enos Rakestraw. Tim Twentyman noted about how he's continuing to be physical with his coverage, but that he's being under control. Now, there's a reason why I put heavy emphasis on that second part. One thing we knew about Enos Rakestraw coming out of college was that he loved to be physical. He was a very, very handsy, very physical cornerback. And I'm going to say this. There's nothing wrong with that. But the problem is that you can't use those hands to the same degree you'd use in college and the NFL. Otherwise, you're going to get called for pass interference, holding, and all that other nonsense all the damn time. That was one of the biggest concerns I had about Enos Rakestraw coming out of college. I was like, okay, can he maintain that physicality, but also find a way to get himself under control and not draw penalties? And it looks like that Rakestraw is learning that, and every single day he's making good plays. He's still maintaining his physical, aggressive nature as a cornerback, but he's not getting flagged for it. And it's like, listen, that's what you want out of a cornerback. Be as aggressive and be as physical as you want, so long as it's in the rules. And the fact that Rakestraw is showing that right there tells me, okay, we're in a good spot. Rakestraw is doing exactly what he needs to do, and I'm loving what I'm hearing out of both Terry and Arnold and Enos Rakestraw. It's good to hear that we have cornerbacks that absolutely understand the fundamentals of playing the position and also know that, hey, you're not supposed to hold a guy like Amani Oruwariye used to do, and also at the same time, not supposed to get blown off in coverage just like Jerry Jacobs used to do. So again, I like what I'm hearing out of our cornerbacks, especially the rookies. Obviously, they still got a long ways to go, but I like what I'm hearing so far. Now, that is those observations. Now we're going to get to how the defense overall as a unit. I'm just going to be quite blatantly honest and just be very out there. The defense today, it spanked the offense's ass. Because what I heard from Tim Twentyman is that in both red zone drills and situational drills, the defense got the better of the offense, and it was quite apparently obvious. And I'm going to say this right now. That is great news. Understand that. It's great news to hear that our defense got the better of the offense, that it actually was giving the offense a run for its money. The reason why is, let's understand this. We already know that our offense has much more continuity to it as far as all the players that are on it that have been on it now for going on somewhat 2, 3, 4 years, and thus there's more cohesion as an overall unit compared to the defense. But also think about this. Our offense is more seasoned in terms of overall experience on it, but it also has more playmaking talent. I mean, for crying out loud, you got Sam Laporta, Jahmyr Gibbs, Amon-Ra St. Brown, Jamison Williams, David Montgomery. I mean, you got playmakers everywhere. And the fact that our defense is being able to bottle all that up and stop those playmakers from making plays, that's something that definitely piques my interest. Because let's also put this in perspective. Our defense doesn't have DJ Reader out on there. It doesn't have John Kaminsky. And on top of that, we have rookie cornerbacks that are out there covering those freaking weapons that I'm talking about in a top 3 offense. That speaks volumes. And here's case in point. In the red zone drills for the first team offense, apparently the first team offense, according to Tim Twentyman, they were only able to score 1 time out of a handful of plays. So think about it. You're talking about 1 out of 5, 1 out of 6 plays, and the first team offense is only able to score that one time against our defense. Think about that. Our offense is prolific. We have been known as one of the most aggressive and one of the best red zone offenses over the last 2 years. And the fact that our defense was able to hold said red zone offense in check to like 1 out of 5, 1 out of 6, that's definitely encouraging. That's like, okay, we've got something working here. We got something cooking here, and I'm grateful to hear it. Then, let's move off the red zone drills and let's go to the situational drills. In the situational drills, it got even better for the defense and, on the opposite hand, worse for the offense. Because, again, let's go to the first team offense. Apparently what had happened is that there was a situation that was set up for the first team offense, and at the very end of the drill, Goff and St. Brown, they had a touchdown. But the thing of the matter is that the touchdown would not have counted because according to Tim Twentyman, there were 2 plays during their situational drill, where sacks would have been attributed to Levi Onwuzurike and to Aiden Hutchinson. But the coaches let the offense play through that, and that was that. Which to me is like, okay, I guess you're the coaches, you guys get to do what you want. But it's like, again, those 2 sacks, if things would have been allowed to proceed as normal, those would have killed the drive. So again, what you're hearing is, 1, the defense as an overall unit is doing a great job. But again, that defensive line unit is really stepping up. Again, even without DJ Reader, Levi is stepping up and he is becoming a force in practice. And he's starting to look like that second round pick that we drafted a couple of years ago. It looks like he's not only finally healthy, but he's also finally fit himself to where he needs to be in this scheme. Then on top of that, you got guys like Aleem McNeil. We already have talked about Aleem McNeil today, but it's like, dude, Aleem McNeil is a freaking beast and a force to be reckoned with. Then you've got Aiden Hutchinson. You've still got Josh Pascal. You've still got James Houston. You've still got Betts. You've still got Davenport. That defensive line unit is just absolutely imposing. And it's not just imposing in run defense anymore. They're being able to get after the quarterback and apply pressure, whether it's up the middle or whether it's in terms of off the edge. My whole point is this. Part of what Lions fans have been absolutely bemoaning and crying about this whole offseason about getting another edge rusher, it looks like we're still getting pressure even without that quote-unquote really big edge rusher opposite of Hutchinson. And who knows, maybe we already have him on the team. Maybe it's Betts. Maybe it's Davenport. Hell, maybe it's even Levi Onwuzurike. They've been saying they want to move him out to edge and they've been doing it a little bit. That's all I'm saying. But again, moving off of the first team offense, let's move to the second and the third team offense and how they fared, which, let's call for what it is, they did not fare any better. In fact, they probably fared a little bit worse because according to Tim Twentyman, the second team offense, their drill literally lasted 4 plays. They had 1 sack and then 3 incompletions, which tells me, okay, where within that series of plays the sack was doesn't matter, but the point is they went for it on 4th down, they couldn't convert, that was the end of their drill. That is, again, not very encouraging for our second team offense, but it is great news for our defense because, again, it shows that our defense is able to step up and put the pressure on the offense to hold them in check, which is what I want to hear. It's what I said in a previous episode. I was like, listen, I want to hear this defense getting after our offense because I already know what our offense can do. I want to hear and see what our defense is doing, and this is exactly what I was looking for. But to round this all off, let's go to the third team. Third team was held by, Hendon Hooker. Now, Hendon Hooker started off the drill throwing an absolutely beautiful, perfect, great seam pass for 30 yards that put the offense on the other side of the field, on the defensive side of the field. But again, according to Tim Twentyman, and again, this is his own words, this is not mine, according to him, he said that Hooker appeared rushed with the time clock situation, with the fact that there was a short field and everything, and what happened is Hooker did the absolute cardinal sin of all quarterbacks. He underthrew an out route, and it was picked off, and it probably could have been returned for a pick 6 if it was a live game situation. I'm telling you this right now. Quarterbacks are taught 2 things when you are throwing out routes. The first thing is never ever freaking telegraph the throw because if you telegraph it, the freaking cornerback is going to get a jump on it. But the second thing all quarterbacks are taught when it comes to out routes is never ever underthrow it or throw it behind. Because again, that gives the cornerback a great jump on the ball. If you're going to throw an out route, you need to put that thing far out in front of that wide receiver so there is no chance or very little chance that that cornerback can get that ball. Because the out route is one of the most dangerous routes because of that very reason. It has a chance to go for touchdowns on a return. And the fact that Hendon Hooker made that mistake, whether it was because, hey, he, misjudged the distance or because, like Tim Twentyman said, he was rushed and he wasn't, going through everything properly, that's a no-no. That is a big, big problem. But again, I know some people don't like the fact that I'm getting on Hooker and they want me to cut it out. But it's like, listen, I'm just going with the freaking reports here. I'm not making stuff up and I'm not trying to overly bash on the guy. But it's like, dude, this is stuff that is a bit concerning. I understand this is quite technically his rookie year, but it's like, for all the starting experience he had in college, some of the stuff that he's doing wrong, this is basic 101 quarterbacking. I understand that sounds a little bit cliche for NFL level, but it's like, dude, this is stuff you should have learned in the freaking college ranks. But anyway, I'm going to cut it off there. I'm not trying to go into a Hendon Hooker escapade. But the whole point of the matter is that for this practice that was just held, defense dominated, absolutely kicked the offense's ass, and the offense was pretty much stalling all day, having a hard time trying to make plays. And the other big thing to take away from it is that at the beginning of practice or throughout practice, however you want to put it, there was a lot of mental lapses that resulted in penalties, which Dan Campbell got very ornery over. But having said all that, I think I've done a pretty good job of covering what happened at practice today, so I'm going to end the episode and say thank you all for watching in another episode of MCM Motor City Mania. If you like what you saw, by all means, I highly encourage y'all to watch the next episode. Also encourage y'all to do one of these three things: like, comment, and subscribe. If by chance you subscribed in the past and you forgot to do so at the time, or you just subscribed and not had a chance to do so, again, I want to highly encourage y'all, please, to make sure you hit that bell notification icon so that way you guys never miss any more content that I push out. Also want to encourage y'all to share the content with your Lions friends and family members. Share it here on YouTube, share it on Twitter, share it on Facebook, share it anywhere and everywhere you can with everybody and anybody that you can. And with that being said, I hope you all enjoyed the content. I hope you all got something in your life that makes you happy, makes you smile. And with that, I hope you guys are having the best day you possibly can. God bless. And until the next time we meet, I'll see you all in the next episode.